Is your career moving in the direction you want it to go? Are you enjoying the work that you do? Are you executing a plan to advance as an engineer? In this episode, I introduce a process that will help you develop a vision for your career, determine what you'll need to learn, what experience you'll require, who you need to get to know, and how to execute. If you want to start advancing, keep listening.
Do you want a career in networking but aren't sure where to start? Are you struggling to take your career to the next level but aren't sure the path? Welcome to Cyber Job Hacks, the podcast that gives you the strategies you need to launch and grow a successful career in network engineering. Hosted by Dr. Jeff Colburn, a solutions architect with over 30 years of experience designing and implementing large-scale networks. Each episode is built around one of the three core pillars of becoming a next-level engineer: developing deep technical knowledge, applying design best practices, and understanding technology decisions. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Cyber Job Hacks podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Colburn. How many of us are going about our career without a plan, without a clear vision of what we want to be doing? Well, we might know what we want, but we haven't really thought how to get there. You might be studying, you may be pursuing certifications, people are telling you, you need this one, you need that one, you're trying to build that experience. But is your career progressing in the direction you want? Does it feel like it's taking too long to get there? You might be feeling stuck. You may have moved jobs and you find you might just be doing the same thing. You're just different environment. So what is the problem? You're studying, you're getting certified, you're gaining experience, everything you're supposed to be doing. Right? The question you need to ask yourself is, do I have a clear, structured plan for my career path? So are you studying, but are you studying the right stuff? Are you getting certified, but will this certification help you move in the direction you want to go? You're gaining experience, but is it the right experience? If you truly want to grow your career, you have to shift your approach. You have to move from reactionary to intentional, right? So when you're presented with a new opportunity or promotion, you have to ask yourself, is this the right next step? So, for example, say you want to become a design engineer. Someone offers you the position as a team lead in the ops center. That's probably not the right move, right? Moving up the ladder in the ops center is not moving you towards design engineer. Yeah, the pay might be better, but now you're heading down a path that's going to create an even greater gap between where you are today and where you want to be. And in a few years, you're going to be looking across this ravine thinking, hey, I wanted to be over there. How did I end up here? Right? Because you're at a crossroads, presented an opportunity, and you took the wrong opportunity, and it led you away from instead of towards where you want to go. So if you want to advance, and I mean advance quickly, you have to make that decision to think in terms of direction, gaps, opportunities, and execution. So you have to think CAPE: clarity, alignment, proximity, execution. Clarity is defining that right direction, right? You have to become clear about what you want before you start moving forward. You have to have this vision for your career. It's hard to move towards something if you don't know what it is. So how do you get that clarity? Well, I like Ken Coleman's approach. He thinks in terms of talent, passion, and mission. Talent is, what are you good at? Right? Usually we don't like to do things that we're not good at. So I'm horrible at basketball, right? Don't have a talent for playing basketball. I'm not good at it. It's not a talent of mine, right? But what am I good at? Well, I'm good at designing networks. I'm good at defining requirements and coming up with solutions. That's a talent. I have a talent for that. I have a talent for engineering. And what are you passionate about, right? So, what's that passion? What's that thing you enjoy doing? Well, I enjoy engineering, right? So you got to think of, what am I good at? and what do I enjoy doing, right? Because I can troubleshoot. I have a talent for resolving issues, right? Somebody calls me and says, "Hey, this isn't working." I 99% of the time I'm going to find the problem. But am I passionate about troubleshooting? No, I do not like getting woken up at 3 a.m. To resolve network issues. I've done it. I can do it, but it's not a passion, right? So talent, now passion. What are you good at? What you enjoy doing? And then mission. What are the results you care about? So when you end of the day, when you do something, what makes you feel accomplished, right? What gives you that sense of significance? Well, again, my example, I design a network. I came up with something that meets the technical and business requirements. I feel accomplished, right? I have that sense of significance, right? So I have that sense of doing what I care about. That's talent, passion, and mission. So this is why I really like this. What do you enjoy doing? What part of the job do you enjoy the most? What don't you enjoy? Those are the things you really have to think about. I remember, you know, I was interviewing one time and one of the VPs asked me, what was something if he called me to ask me to do something, I would ask him to call someone else. And I responded honestly. I told him, don't call me at 3 a.m. with a network issue. Now, he didn't like the answer, right? He was a former ops manager, but it's the truth. I don't want to do ops work. Right? I'm not going to do ops work at this point in my career. I have no plans. I got out of ops as quick as I could. I got into engineering because that's what I loved. I love designing and building networks. I don't want to troubleshoot somebody else's mess. That's how I always looked at it. When I was troubleshooting, I'd be like, who designed this? Why'd they do this? So I don't like fixing other people's messes. I like creating my own stuff. And then if there's an issue with it, then call me and I'll help you fix it. But that's the part I love. I love to design. I love to build. I don't love to troubleshoot. I can do it. Don't love it. Right. So that's what you have to be thinking about. What is that you enjoy doing? Right. That's the thing that's going to get you excited. Right. If you're in this business and you're going to do it for like 30 plus years, you have to enjoy what you're doing because otherwise you're not going to last. You're going to burn out. So think about that. What's your talent? What's your passion? What's your mission? And that gives you that clarity, right? You're going to be building this plan. And so doesn't mean that there will not be parts of the jobs that you'll enjoy doing, right? There's certain things even today I do that I don't necessarily enjoy, but this is a plan for your career. And for your career, you want to spend the majority of time doing the things that you enjoy doing. You don't want to spend day in, day out doing something you don't enjoy, you're not good at, you have no sense of fulfillment or accomplishment, right? So this is you coming up with your plan, getting clarity. So you think about things, you want to put like, what's that ideal thing like that meets my talent, passion, and mission, right? So that's clarity. The next is alignment, right? So unless you're already doing this, like, okay, I'm doing what I love, I'm good at it, I feel accomplished, right? Then you've probably already done this exercise. But for most people, you need alignment. Where are you today versus where you want to be? What is missing? What are those things that you need? And these are your technical gaps. What do you need to learn? And your experience gaps. What do I need to do? So you have to be thinking in terms of knowledge and experience, right? So what is required for that role that you want? Do you have that base knowledge? What certifications might be helpful or may be required? For example, you want to work in the federal government, certain roles require specific certifications. You may need a security certification like Security Plus or CISSP. Or a contract position may allow for a CCNP certification to be used in place of minimum experience. I've seen this. It's like either a CCNP or 3 to 5 years experience. But if you have the CCNP, you only need 2 years or something like that, right? It's just because you have the certification, less experience was required, which might be helpful. Like if you're trying to transition to that, that ideal role and you don't, have all the experience for that next step, but you have a certification that'll permit you to get there quicker because, oh, well, if I have this certification, I can get there with just the 2 years I already have versus 5 years, right? Something like that. Then certification might help you, right? So, and the other question you have to ask yourself, is the current role building the experience you're going to require, or do you need to make a change? And what will be required to make that change, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'm doing this today. That's not taking me, it's actually moving me away from where I want to be. So I don't have to shift roles, but what do I need to shift those roles, right? You know, what do I need to know, and what experience do I need? So even that transitional step, you have to think about, you have to get that alignment. Then you want to think in terms of proximity. You know, are you close to the people doing what you want to do? Are you in the right place? You know, what do you need to do to get close to it? Like, how, you know, do you need to move? Are those people there today? Are you around those people? Have you never spoken to those people? I probably recommend, if you want to do something, like say, hey, I want to be a design engineer, you probably want to talk to other design engineers. Get an idea of what the, like, because you don't want to like fantasize about the role, like, oh, this would be so great, and then you come to find out, well, that's not really what I want to do. So proximity is kind of helpful in that aspect too, because it kind of gives you a reality check of what the role really requires, what it's really like day to day. And these are the people that are going to create opportunities for you, right? Because they're doing what you want to do. So as you're interacting with them, these opportunities are going to present themselves. So if you're in ops and you want to get into engineering, you know, how often are you talking with engineers? So if you remember my last episode, I interviewed a young senior level engineer. And if you missed it, you know, I suggest you go back and give it a listen, because he gives some great insight on how he moved up so quickly. You know, I watched his entire career, and he's exactly where he wants to be, doing what he enjoys, and he passed so many other people along the way. So you want to really, highly recommend go back and listen to it. But, you know, one of the things he mentioned was, you know, he started in the ops center, but when he finished his shift, he would encounter engineers who sat just outside the room, and he would stop, he'd talk to them, and he'd see what they'd be working on. And this led to opportunities for him to assist them, right? So some basic engineering tasks, you know, that normally would go to a junior engineer. He started doing that. So this engagement, you know, just him encountering these engineers, talking to them and doing some small tasks for them, allowed him to get promoted to engineering before others that had been there longer. So he passed people, right? Because he's put himself in proximity with the people doing the role that he wanted to do. So that's what you want to do, is like, well, how do I get around these people? How do I talk to these people? How do I learn from these people? How do I basically put myself on their radar that's going to create that opportunity, right? That's, you know, and this goes back to alignment, right? Is how do I be prepared so when that opportunity does present itself, right? Because if you remember, the way I define luck is preparedness plus opportunity. So as was mentioned in that interview, he was studying at night. So when he talked to these engineers, he was already studying the right things. So he was prepared. And then by talking to them and helping them, created opportunities. So he created his own luck, right? So he got lucky, you know, but that luck really wasn't luck. It was putting himself on their radar and showing them what he knew, right? And then, like, you know what? This young guy, he knows his stuff. Let's give him a chance. And he got into engineering rather quickly. So perfect example of alignment. You know, what do I need to know? What I need to do? And then proximity. How do I get myself around the people doing what I want to do to create opportunity? And then there's execution, right? So you can put together this plan, right? You got clarity, you got alignment, you got proximity, right? You got this all planned out. But if you don't execute on it, it's worthless, right? You have to execute. So you have that clarity, right? You have that vision, you have that purpose statement for your career, the alignment, right? You identify your technical and experience gaps. What do I need to study? What experience do I need to build to get me moving towards what I want to be doing, right? And then you identify those people, right? How do I get in that close proximity so those people can help me to advance, right? Now you execute. You take those consistent and focused action every day, right? It's like, this is what I'm going to do today, right? So you could even like start off like, this week I need to do this, but then you break the week down to like a daily execution plan. So just to summarize, Cape, clarity gives you direction, alignment shows you what's missing, proximity creates opportunity, execution drives results. So this is this methodology, this process, right? If you're feeling stuck, you feel like you hit a plateau and you're wondering, well, how do I climb to that next level, right? What's your plan? Like, what's going to get you to that next level, right? So do you have clarity? What is that next level, right? And then what's missing? Okay, what might I be missing today that's required to get me to that next level? And am I around the right people, right? How do I get around those right people? And am I executing, or am I just doing the daily grind, doing what I need to do to get to, to 5 o'clock, right? So ask yourself, where are you today? Are you chasing certs without any clear direction? There's nothing worse than just getting certified for the sake of certification. You're not impressing anybody if you got certifications across the board. I've seen some resumes like, I'm certified data center, wireless, enterprise, service provider, collaboration. That tells me nothing. That tells me you don't know what you want to be doing. And then I look at your experience, right? Certification without experience. Like, certifications have their uses, but if you're a cert chaser or a lab rat, you're not impressing any of us. We see right through it. It's like, okay, well, we look at your experience. Great, you have all these certs, but it just tells me that you're a cert chaser. This doesn't tell me where you're trying to grow as an engineer, because you can't be an expert collaboration guy and an expert service provider, expert wireless. You know who the expert wireless person is? The person who loves RF, right? They'll talk radio all day long. I'm not that guy, but they are. So those are the person. If I'm looking for a good wireless person, it's not going to be the person who wireless is the one of the 10 certifications on his resume. So certifications have their place, and that place is within your alignment. What certifications are going to help me to move in a direction or move to that next level that I want to move to? Just not getting certifications for the sake of certification, or getting a certification because everybody's telling you, well, you need to learn this, you need to learn that. You talk to 10 different people, they're going to give you 10 different advices on where you need to get certified, what you need to learn, because they're not asking you where you want to be. They're just going to tell you, well, if you want to be a network engineer, you need to know this. Well, no, I am an architect. I love to design networks. Do I know Python? A little. Do I know Ansible? A little. But would I call myself a DevOps engineer? No, I would not. Do I need to know DevOps to do my job? I do not. I need to know how to design networks, and that's what people bring me in for. They don't bring me in to automate. That's somebody else's job. I'll design it, and then we'll bring in somebody to automate the design, but you can't automate something if you don't know how it works. You got to have a design first. So that's where I come in. So telling me to get, to learn Python or learn Ansible, that's not going to help me in my role, because that's not the role I want. But if you're an automation person, then absolutely learn Ansible, learn Terraform, learn Python, right? You're going to be using all those things. But if you want to be an architect and you're just doing designs, then not so much, right? So again, right, just think about that. Am I chasing this search for the right reason? Am I pursuing this certification because it's going to lead me to where you want to go? And then the other thing, are you just hoping to arrive? Like, hey, I'm doing this job, I'm getting these certifications, and one day I'm just gonna fall into the role I want. Not gonna happen. More than likely, because you're reactionary, you're gonna end up someplace you didn't want to go, right? Because you might have been taking new roles for the wrong reasons. Like, oh, it's advancement. I'm gonna 10K bump or a 20K bump by taking this role, but it's just could be moving you further away from where you want to go. And all of a sudden you might be making good money. You just don't like what you're doing. Like that's the worst. So you want to be moving into the role that you enjoy and getting those salary bumps at the same time, not just salary bumps and then moving you further away from what you want to be doing. Right. So that's what, the next question is, is that current role leading to where you want to be? Like if you're doing a job and it's leading you away from what you want, then that's not, you don't want to be in that current role because that's not going to take you to where you want to go. You're going down the wrong river, right? Get off, you got to get off that bus and change buses. Is this the right role that you're in today? Right. And do you have a plan? Or are you reacting to what others are telling you, right? It's like especially if you're junior, mid-level, and you got people above you telling you, hey, you got to learn this, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like, not to say that's not insightful, especially if there are people doing what you want to be doing, then yeah, you want to give some weight to what they're saying, right? Because they're telling you, well, this is probably what you need to learn, be doing what we're doing today. But if you're working in ops and you want to go into engineering and you have senior ops guys telling you what to learn, that may not be what you need to learn to get into design because they don't know. They're not design engineers, they're ops engineers. So how are they qualified to tell you what you need to learn to move into the role you want to move? Now, if you want to become a senior ops engineer, then absolutely listen to them. But if you're in ops just because that's how you got your foot in the door, but your passion is engineering, then find engineers, talk to them, right? And that's going to help you develop that plan, right? That's that proximity. Hanging out with senior ops engineers when you want to be a design engineer, you're not in the right proximity of people. You're around the wrong people. So they've got great insight, but not the insight that you need. So if you're stuck, then think about your current plan, right? Is this the right plan, or do I need to tweak it? If you don't have a plan, then you're not alone, right? Most people spend more time planning their vacations than their career. So believe me, most people are reactionary. So if this is new, talking about intentionality, you're not alone. A lot of people just kind of go with the flow, react to what life throws at them. But if you got a plan, things will move quickly and things will move in the direction you want to go. But now it's time to get a plan, right? It's time to really think about your career path, what you're doing, where you want to go. Believe me, it's a lot easier to get to the top of the mountain if you have a clear path, right? You don't want to be zigzagging through the foothills, hoping to stumble across the trail. Like a lot of people are doing that. No, you got a clear path, right? You're just going to zip up that mountain. And like I said, person I interviewed last episode, that's what he did. And shoom, right up to the top. He's a consulting engineer, top level engineer. Yeah, he got there before he was 30, right? Started when he was 19. So amazing career growth, rapid career growth. So just an example of how having a plan and executing a plan works. So I want to encourage you to think about where you are today, get clear about your direction, line where you are today versus where you want to be, figure out how to get in proximity to those who can help, and then start executing, right? Time to move off that plateau and start climbing again. The path should become clear now, right? And if you're starting off at base camp, right, it's best to get on that right path early, right? You'll quickly pass those still stumbling around aimlessly. And if you need help, like, say, hey, Jeff, this sounds great. I love to get that clarity, that alignment, right? That proximity and execution plan. I love to go through that process. If you need help, I can help you. I offer, a 12-week cohort where we just go through that whole CAPE process. If you are interested, just look in the show notes and you'll see the details, and, you can schedule a free 30-minute call with me, and we can talk about and discuss if this is the right thing for you. So whether, you're feeling frustrated, you're stuck, or, you're sure you're not sure what the next move is, you can work with me, or you can go about it alone. Either way, you need that plan. You need to put a plan together. You need to execute on that plan. sitting around complaining that you're not getting the opportunities, your career's not progressing, that's on you, to be honest. That's on you. You got to have a plan. And they start executing on the plan, then you're gonna start seeing that movement. You're gonna start advancing, and you'll get to where you want to go. Because, like I said, most people out there are not executing a plan. So you'll be that individual out there, just weaving through other people, moving to the top. So I hope you found this episode useful. Until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Cyber Job Hacks, the podcast for next-level engineers. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes on how to take your career to that next level.